Z, so Z. Yeah.
Hello everyone, it's Sophie here with the Jazz Cafe show until 3 p.m. as usual. We've got a massively exciting guest on the show today. We featured him on the Gig Experience part of the show a couple of weeks back. So if your memory is good, you will remember me talking about the awesome MC and sax player Soweto Kinch. So stay tuned as I'll be chatting to him and we'll be playing some tracks from his latest album, The Legend of Mike Smith. Ladies and gentlemen of Wandsworth, it is time in the show now, the time that we've been waiting for well, I've been waiting for it for too long. No, not too long. I'm very pleased to welcome Soweto Kinch.
Oh, come on, yeah, make some noise. Woo.
How's it going, Soweto?
Great, I feel like it's Wembley Stadium in a studio of 4 people. It's wonderful. Yeah. I'm in a good space right now.
And you've whisked here last night from doing some hip-hop stuff.
That's right, I've been on my laptop editing some really exciting new tracks. So that, yeah, whole lot of stuff going on.
Sounds
basically.
Good.
Yeah.
And you were in Montpellier as well recently,
right? The night before, indeed.
What were you doing there?
Been jet setting. I was playing with a great group called Chlorine Free, group of French funk musicians and, jazz funk, everything in between. They're really, really great guys.
Wicked, yeah, they're really cool. Everyone listening, definitely go check them out. And Soweto plays, what's the name of the track that you play with them that's wicked?
Called Natural Blend.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think it's number 2 or 3 on Soweto's Spotify.
Yeah, there you go.
Knowledge. Now, Soweto, we're particularly excited and lucky to have you on the show because you've actually got a personal connection to the area.
I really do.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, my grandma lived here for a very long time. So my mum grew up in Wandsworth. I went to All Farthing School, if anyone knows that, where also Louis Theroux went as well. Not at the same time, but also jazz luminaries like Julian Joseph went there. Produced quite a lot of great jazz musicians over the years, actually. So yeah, that's my primary school. I went to church in Earlsfield, Sunday school with my grandma, and lots of really fun memories. And my auntie grew up as well in Clapham Junction. My cousins grew up in Clapham Junction. So this is an area of London that holds a lot of fun memories for me.
That's cool. And am I right in saying you actually started learning to play an instrument actually in Wandsworth?
I did. I started playing the clarinet at All Farthing. Like a lot of, as I said, jazz musicians got their first start in Wandsworth. So yeah, that was where it all started.
I played clarinet actually. I got to grade 1 and I got distinction, and then I called it day because my clarinet teacher was a bit weird. But I'm sure you had a lovely experience.
I had a great teacher,
clarinet.
yeah, no weirdos. We learned a bit of Benjamin Britten and stuff, and I kind of remember, going from recorder to clarinet, and then when I got to Birmingham, going to saxophone. So it was a great kind of first step.
Yeah, what made you make that transition to sax?
Well, that was when I moved to Birmingham with my pops, and we were in this great workshop in a place called the Cultural Centre in Handsworth, and there had all these shiny instruments all around. And I'd heard about the saxophone, but we didn't actually get to see any in Wandsworth at the time. And I saw it, and it was just instant, attraction to this huge, shiny, pole-keyed monolith behemoth. So I picked it up, and it was huge and cumbersome around my neck and felt probably heavier than I was at 9 years old. But instant affinity to the instrument as well, even though it was difficult to play, and I sounded pretty much like a duck being brutalized. I didn't look back after that.
That's cool. And when you do come back to the Wandsworth area, are there any places nearby that you normally hang out, and any special places in particular that you really make a point of going back to see?
Well, so much has changed since I went to primary school and stuff here, but I still go past the park on Garrett's Lane. See, my memory's fading. Garrett's Lane, where my grandma's house was, and I see that area, and go past on the bus sometimes where the old church on Earlsfield was as well. So yeah, there aren't really specific draws that pull me back here, but whenever I do, there's a lot of memory lane moments that happen. Yeah,
and are you still in touch with people in the local area?
Yeah, most of whom have probably left as well, who are working up and down the country. Really funny story about a friend of mine who was at Oxford as well. We both studied at Oxford, but my grandma was really proud of the fact that I got into Oxford, and was completely sure that my contemporary, a woman called Cathy Williams, was at Cambridge. So she's like, oh, did you hear that Cathy got into Cambridge as well? And literally was lived right round the corner on Garrett's Lane as well. And I was like, oh, wonderful, yeah. So I got to Oxford on my first day after not having seen her for about 6 or 7 years. And my grandma had completely messed up the information. We were both at Oxford at the same college, having lunch in the same room, thinking, but your grandma said you went to Cambridge. She said that I went to Cambridge. It's hilarious.
Well, I think there's the Oxford-Cambridge boat race coming up soon. Were you involved in that at all?
Nothing to do with me, no.
Nothing.
Just playing saxophone. I definitely wasn't a rowing kind of guy.
Yeah.
I did play cricket at school.
Oh, did
That's
you?
about the closest.
What was your how I don't know much about cricket, but I know that you're a certain position in the batting.
Oh, running all
right?
I was a terrible batsman, more of a bowler.
Okay.
My dad was the real cricketer, actually, and it's part of a very strong West Indian heritage from Barbados, so that was where that came from.
Yeah, Barbados. Have you been to Barbados?
I have, but not for a very long time, not since I was a kid. And any Kinches out there know that it's a very proud Christchurch surname. So yeah.
Do you still kind of? You said you mentioned you go to church. You went to church when you were in Wandsworth. Are you still kind of part of the church scene and up in Birmingham?
Yeah, in and out, to and fro. I don't regularly fellowship in Birmingham, but in touch with a lot of great musicians and a lot of people, and of course great worshippers in church. So I keep a foot in
And
there.
are you into like gospel music at all or anything like that? Or
I certainly appreciate it. I really do. It's something that I've discussed a lot with friends who are in church and outside of church. This kind of divide between secular and sacred music that can be quite a cultural divide as well. So for me, it's just about making music that moves people, and then they can ask me questions about my faith and where that all comes from, as opposed to I just play in the church or I just play for the gospel circuit. But it's an interesting discussion I have with a lot of, particularly with rappers as well, a lot of musicians who feel the music they make has to sit within one camp or the other, and they can't, they can't be in the world and of the world at the same time.
Yeah. So back to kind of like London and the people who actually are part of the Wandsworth community here. Is there any places that you would recommend them go in the local area to go and check out live jazz music? Is there anywhere that you particularly enjoy going to check out live music in London?
In London in general, yeah, there are some great places. The 606 in Chelsea isn't too far. I guess that's probably the closest, right?
I think so. I think there's a place in Streatham as well.
Oh man, the Hideaway. Yeah, we had a great gig there. And I should also mention, it's going to be a while, but mark it in the diary, the 19th of November, I believe, I'm going to be back at the Hideaway in Streatham.
Oh, wicked. Okay, cool. So, well, I've been in touch with the Hideaway people, and we want to get them a bit more involved and get people to go down to see live music at the venue. So
I'd be annoying people in other venues in London, which are also really great, like Pizza Express and Ronnie Scott's and 606. But the Hideaway is one of the hippest gigs we've done in a long time in London. So
wicked.
Big up.
That's really cool. One part of London, though, that I suppose you might be less keen on, Islington.
Well,
can you tell us a bit about what happened there? Have you got any recollections?
Do you know something that I don't?
This
is a leading question. I heard a rumour that you owe people money in Hackney.
No, I heard a rumour that you might have had your sax pinched.
That's true.
In
okay,
Islington.
I see where you're going with that. Yeah. I was going to see a great dance performance at Sadler's Wells, and I parked up round the corner. And to all intents and purposes, Islington is a very hip, trendy, salubrious area. Not everywhere in Islington, though, because they smashed my back window and took my saxophone. This was like a couple of years ago. I really wasn't expecting it. And the police were mixed use, but I left a load of posters, and the local residents were really helpful, actually, in kind of getting the word out. So
and you got it back in the end?
I got it back in the end, yeah. I think through as much as the fact that the kids who stole it didn't know who to sell it to. Pawn shops don't take them anymore without ID, so thankfully I got my baby back, and it very rarely leaves the house, to be honest.
That's good. Do you get quite attached to your instruments?
I certainly do.
Yeah. Is it to the same extent, do you think, as some people have like mobile phones, get very attached and, can't
I would
leave
wager
a house
that it's even more of an attachment than a mobile phone. I'll put that out there. As much as I love my iPhone, it's ensured I can get a new one. It's not. But the thing about the saxophone and the brass in particular, the mouthpiece, everything starts to resonate with you as a relationship that you have with the saxophone. And just picking up another saxophone, even if it's the same make and model, is not going to sound the same.
Yeah. Cool. And what about when you're traveling with your sax? How do you find that, like actually getting it physically around from place to place?
It's fine, as long as you don't fly Ryanair. Sorry, Michael O'Leary, I'm dissing your company.
Yeah, you had an angry tweet about that, actually, didn't you?
I've had a few angry tweets. I'm glad you picked that one up. Yeah. they're not the most accommodating, let's put it that way. Or they are if you just, they advertise their fares at like £20 and then, oh, you've got a saxophone. Well, it'll be £3,000 now. So
sly.
They're very sly. They're very sly.
And what are the best and worst things about playing like all over the world?
Oh, great question. How long have you got? For me, I think, obviously the travel, which is a mixed blessing because you fly and you see the airport, the stage and the hotel, which isn't always the most accurate depiction of a country. But, getting to relate to people, different cultures, different ways of viewing the world. And I really would exhort more people to travel. I've been really fortunate to go to places as far afield as Zimbabwe and Palestine, Moscow. A lot of places with the British Council that, for whatever reason, sometimes are the political sort of pariahs of the time, of the moment. And I get to go and be up front with regular people. And often musicians, again, share a more kind of, equal, perhaps a more open-minded view of the world. And that's turned some of my assumptions about, particularly the Middle East, for example, or certainly Africa and in Eastern Europe. Those assumptions have been turned on their head by my trips to those areas.
Yeah. Well, I think it's about time that we played a track now from you.
Why
don't we do that? All this talking, God. So I'm going to play a track from your latest album, The Legend of Mike Smith. And after that, it'll be great to hear a bit more about it.
Sure.
So the song I'm going to play is called The Healing. Now, Soweto, I want to talk a little bit about your latest album,
Sure.
The Legend of Mike Smith. Anything you want to say? How can you describe it in 3 words?
3 words, really very good. It's about the 7 deadly sins and follows the story of this character, Mike Smith, as he's trying to buy a golden microphone. That's way more than 3 words, but there you go.
That's pretty good. That's pretty succinct. And I actually saw you release 7 videos kind of in the build-up to this.
That's right.
Was it in the build-up to the album or build-up to the kind of dramatised version of it?
That's right. It was the build-up to the latter, to the play. So there's a staged version of the album, which we're looking to put back on its feet this year, actually.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So
is that going to be... Whereabouts is that going to be on?
Hopefully in Coventry, Riverfront Arts Centre in Manchester and stuff, but keep, watching this space and we'll confirm all of that later on in the year.
People can go and check you out on Twitter at Soweto Kinch.
That's correct.
And I really enjoyed watching these videos, actually, because basically Soweto is kind of... Predominantly, you're in a shopping mall for these 7 videos. And... at one point, I think you're kind of like rapping at people, and one point you're wearing a monkey mask and kind of like really spooking some members of the general population out. And the 7 deadly sins, they've got Latin names, haven't they, for these videos?
Absolutely.
I kind of looked at these 7 names and I thought, what on earth is that? But then I realised they're Latin.
Yeah. I think my favourite ones are probably pride and anger. We just caught people off guard. They just didn't know, why is this man in a top hat walking around insulting everybody?
There was one called Luxuria.
Yeah.
And what's that in Latin? What's that in English?
Lust.
Lust, okay.
So hence the chimpanzee mask and just accosting women with raps. That was a lot of fun. Actually.
Particularly, I liked you went up to a hairdresser and I've had to write these little raps down. We'll see how I go. I have rhymes and every day could be like Valentine's was one of my faves. And then another one where you go up to a security worker, I think she was a security worker, and you say, but you're nice, miss. I especially like the look of this white strip and the high vis. Which is so good.
Of course, they can't hear the beat or anything. They're just like, this guy's a bit odd.
But you can hear the beat on the video.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think you can check them out on YouTube.
That's right.
Definitely, guys, go and check that out. It's worth a few minutes of your time to go and look at the hilarious. Were there any particularly like tricky or amusing moments in actually making the album come together?
Oh, all the way through, to be honest. A lot of the skits that we recorded, and also, staging the play when we got to do things like, there's a particular scene where we're in a sneaker store, footwear store, and a very apparently attractive, it's all audio, so it's like a radio play, attractive sales clerk comes up and she's like, well, can I help you? What kind of, shoes do you want to get today? And I'm trying to be ordinary, but my inner ape, or the inner bonobo within me, is just kind of, oh, did you see that? Did you see that? Every single time we had to record the skit, I just wet myself laughing. You know what I mean?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And you'll be performing the album. Are you actually going to be performing in the play? In the play.
Absolutely.
As well?
Yeah. And there were a shout out to great performers, Tyrone Isaac Stewart and Ricardo da Silva, who we all essentially play the same person, but we're different aspects of his psyche. As the 7 deadly sins take him over progressively, then it brings different parts out of the same person. Anyone who's kind of looked at things like triune brain theory and ideas like that recognize it's quite an interesting way to represent, I guess, psychosis, but represent issues that affect us all societally right now.
Yeah, and the kind of story of it's 2 CDs on one album, and you're kind of taken through this journey of this guy Mike Smith, who's trying to kind of get a record label because he's been promised, he could be the next big thing, and all the trials and tribulations that he faces on that journey to that. Is that based on your own actual experiences of, were you kind of promised similar things and
they never materialized? I'd say some of it is largely autobiographical, but it also gives me a framework, to incorporate other people's stories who I've seen over the years, and also wider societal questions, because really in making this journey, it becomes much more than about a record deal. It's about him triumphing as an artist, as a creative, and the fulcrum of it, a lot of it does happen in the shopping centre as well, which I feel is a fitting metaphor for obsession. It's not even a metaphor, obsession with consumption and a lot of societal political issues that I was able to communicate through those themes.
Which, if people want to go and see where this was filmed, which shopping centre was it actually filmed in?
It was actually the Bullring in Birmingham. So
Birmingham?
I don't feel like I have to do the accent. If you feel like taking a trip to where it happened, go, but don't get carried away by shopping.
That could be a new part of your,
the trail.
You could actually do the journey. You could take people on tours around the shopping centre.
Yeah. This is the apex of capitalism here. This is consumption gone awry there. So yeah, we could have a lot of fun with that.
Well, let's play another track from the album now. It's called Better Off Alone. Can you give us a little, what's it about?
Well, this features, I should say, firstly, Eska Mutangwazi, who's an incredible artist, and she's dropping her own long-awaited solo album next month. But the track itself is about, I guess it's a precursor to Pride, but it's more about that feeling of breaking off with somebody who you feel wasn't that good for you. They said they were. Could be a partner, a business associate, somebody who's like, you're going to need me. And then you leave them and you realise, actually, I really didn't need you at all. So I'm better off alone.
Cool. And here it is now, Better Off Alone by Soweto Kinch.
Yes, our road has changed and forced me to find myself.
Normally around this time in the show we play what is called Jazz Spy. So it's where I've been stalking someone who's a jazz musician on social media and I tell people what I found. Last week, very, very exciting news I brought to the people of Wandsworth was that American guitarist Julian Lage was selling 2 amps, which was very exciting. I'm sure lots of people flocked to go and buy those amps, $1,700 worth of amps. So that was the big news of last week. But since we've got Soweto here in the studio today, I thought we'd do things a little bit differently and have a quick fire round of Would You Rather with the Jazz Spy bed. So you're up for it?
Yeah, only if I can do one afterwards.
Dun, dun, dun.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
Shh, Jazz Spy.
Okay, so a new take on Jazz Spy, live in the Wandsworth radio studio with Soweto Kinch. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do this.
Right. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Bus or tube?
Bus.
Home or abroad?
Abroad.
Meat or veg?
Meat.
Mac and cheese or Mac the knife?
Mac the knife all day, every day.
North or South London?
South.
South London.
Obviously South.
Spider-Man or Harry Potter?
Spider-Man.
Poet or playwright?
Ooh. Poet.
Ooh, poet.
Got me there, got me there.
Shouting or whispering?
Whispering.
Whispering. Fame or fortune?
Fortune.
Fortune.
Keep the fame.
Q-tip or Shakespeare?
Q-tip, man.
Q-tip, yeah. London jazz scene or New York jazz scene?
Oh. Ooh, London jazz scene.
Ooh, okay.
That was tricky, though.
Scone or scone?
Scone.
Scone.
Scared.
Scone, mate. Blondes or brunettes?
Brunette.
Yes, I'm a brunette.
All right.
Woo! Ella Fitzgerald or Nina Simone?
Ooh, why should you have to choose? Right now, Nina.
Nina. Okay. Trainers or flip-flops?
Trainers.
Cheese and onion or salt and vinegar?
Salt and vinegar.
And finally, saxophone or spoken word?
Saxophone. Before you even finished. I've got one. Would you rather be a mermaid, which is a fish from the waist upwards, or a mermaid fish, bottom half fish?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that gotcha.
But I'd like my top half to be a mermaid because I want.
So you'd be a fish with human legs.
Oh.
Think about this.
Oh, so difficult. No, I'd have a
Nothing to do with
I'd have a tail so that I could swim.
Okay, cool.
But I am a little bit freaked out by general animals.
Right.
Fish I can kind of handle, but not if I have to touch. If I had to touch my own
scaly legs.
Scaly legs, that would just be really creepy.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. Any more for me?
No. Glad we settled that.
I'm glad we settled that too. That was this week's Jazz Spy with Soweto Kinch. Right. After that excitement, I think we're going to play a track that is one of my favourite tracks. It is called Good News by your fine self, sir.
Thank
And the reason I like this track so much is that I actually sang this track with my band when I was at uni.
Oh, cool.
And I couldn't find the lyrics anywhere online for it. It wasn't available. So I think
just kind of make them up.
I think that song is I think this song is one of the songs I've paused and played more times than any other track because I just had to like listen back to it to try and get them right and was typing the lyrics out. And this is a super fun one to perform. Played it with my band Corner Jam, which with the sax player, so doing that kind of bit in thirds at the beginning. Nice. It was really fun. So I'm going to play this now. It's called Good News and it's Soweto Kinch. Soweto Kinch there with Good News. We've still got the lovely Soweto in the studio. We were just having a little chat there about how that song was kind of brought to life. Really interesting stuff. I got the benefit of it. I didn't let you guys have the benefit. I was just interested for myself. Now, at the start of the show, I tweeted a photo of some homemade Rice Krispie cakes, which Soweto has trialled them. What did you think?
Really nice. We're a little sticky, but very tasty.
Sticky but tasty, yeah. They're one of my favourite things in the world. I think I was trying to touch different buttons in the studio and I had sticky hands. Don't tell Jason, the director, please. I'll get killed. But the song that I'm going to play now that I think is fitting is a track called Spanish Rice. I just like the vibe. I like the vibe of it. You've got Rice Krispies, are made of rice. Yep. Not a different kind of rice. True. But actually, no, Rice Krispies.
It's rice, just
rice.
It is
rice. It's just puffed up rice.
Right, there you go.
So yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So we're gonna play that track now, and then we're gonna have to say our farewell to Soweto shortly. But we'll play that track now quickly.
Follow me on Twitter.
Follow Soweto on Twitter.
Come and see all my gigs.
Come and see his gigs. The Legend of Mike Smith will be. You'll be releasing some more news about that.
More news about that. Rope Tackle on the 4th of April at Jazz Cafe in June. Hideaway in November. So watch this space for more news.
If you want to come along to Hideaway, anyone, let me know. We'll get a gang of Wandsworth people together and go and support Soweto. So yeah, you can follow Soweto at Soweto Kinch on Twitter. And that's really going to be all we've got time for. But thank you so much, Soweto, for coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure. And so nice because you've got the personal connection to the area. So it's been wicked having you. Thank you.
Thank you. Z.